All right, welcome back to Guns and Gems. I am so excited to see the number of listeners increase, and if you can share it with other people you think would like this podcast, it would mean a lot to me. I am working on slowing down my speech as I'm noticing that I talk a lot faster than other podcasters out there. It's a work in progress, and I'm starting to do vocal exercises, so hopefully that also improves the quality of this podcast. So, here is the first in-depth gun episode, and I'm nervous. I wanted to make sure that I could do this well enough. The first gun that most people come to me is for their first pistol. Many people come after hearing more and more about how hectic things are in the world. Many times it is after they have families or something happened to them. So these situations, I'm directly fixing a personal problem. So I'm going to talk through some basics. I'm going to talk through some scenarios, and hopefully pieces and parts of those may resonate with you and your individual situation to help you do your shopping. Again, this is probably going to come down at the end of the day to going out to a range and shooting different guns. But I wanted to do some talking over of different variabilities to consider when purchasing your first pistol. I would also visit with the associates at your local gun store and even take a class to get more comfortable with each pistol platform and really dial in what would work best for you. So what caliber would I choose? This is such a hard question and still a hotly debated topic within the gun community. You have the loyal 45 ACP people that will tell you that they won't trust a 9mm and that the stopping power alone makes this ammo superior. Then you have the 9mm people that will tell the 45 ACP people that the capacity alone makes theirs better, and with a higher pressure 9mm hollow point, they can do a good amount of damage also. Realistically, if this is your first gun, let's think about the one that is easiest to control with recoil while still having effective stopping power and being reasonable on the budget when it comes to practice ammo. So I usually suggest 9mm to most people for their first gun. It is the cheapest round. Again, this is excluding things like 22 LR. Has many options for hollow points, practice ammo, etc. And it is easy to find. During COVID, we got a really clear idea of what our supply chain issues, where there were issues and where there wasn't. While all ammo options were severely crimped during that period, we had certain calibers go away completely, but 9mm seemed to stay around, although the options were then limited. This may be down to you and may take going to the range and shooting multiple calibers again. Consider what caliber you're able to get back on target with the fastest and easiest, so recoil control. If I were seriously having an issue figuring out which caliber is best for me, I would probably go to a range and try 380 ACP, 9mm, 40 Smith & Wesson, and 45 ACP, at least all a try. Those are all fairly common and for the modern shooter. So let's talk about the barrel length. So full size versus compact. While there is no hard and fast rules, typically full size are 4.5 inches plus, where compacts are 3.5 to 4.5. Subcompacts are usually below 3.5. I'll try and stick to those measurements when talking about different guns and how exactly that they're classified. For home defense, you probably want a full-size pistol. Few reasons: you don't need to conceal it and it's easier to shoot. And unless you're in states like California, Washington, Massachusetts, etc., they tend to have higher capacities, like 15 to 21 rounds, versus concealed pistols usually have less, although they are working on their technology right now. So those are not hard or fast numbers, but those are just ranges on how things tend to be. For personal protection guns, This is probably going to be your barrel at or around 4.5 inches. For most frames, concealing a 4.5 inch plus pistol barrel length is difficult and not practical to keep from printing the gun through your clothing. So something with a smaller barrel length and usually a single stack or a slimmer gun is going to be your friend. It will be snappier, so it will have more recoil, but with practice, you can get used to it. Talking about capacity, if you're not in a state that restricts capacity, full-size firearms are going to be able to hold more, and then you'll find that smaller ones will have less, although there are some exceptions to either one. And capacity can also depend on the caliber also. The nice thing is that with full-size firearms, and this is not the hard and fast rule, but this is what happens many times, because they can be used as duty weapons, they will provide 3 magazines instead of just the typical 2 that you'll see with concealed carry pistols. For example, the Glock 17 and 19 both provide 3 mags along with the gun. So getting into a little bit more advanced, you'll see people talk about the grip angle. So first, I want to talk about how this measurement is taken. Think about a line going down the middle of the slide and then draw a perpendicular line mid-trigger. Then that angle between that line and the grip line is the grip angle. 16 degrees will be more of a straight up and down, and 21 degrees will be more of a slanted angle. People's hands and body mechanics will dictate which one feels better in your hand right out of the box. Granted, you can do grip modifications where you can change that angle slightly, but starting out with something that is shootable right out of the box is a lot easier. Does grip angle create a make or break purchase decision for your first pistol? Probably not, but as you progress and learn more, finding an optimal grip angle will make things easier. But if you like every other part of a handgun and grip angle is the only issue, I would say, at least for me, it does not tend to be a deal breaker, and it's something that I can learn through dry fire drills how to overcome. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about is the action. This is a weird one to talk about because I feel like it gets into a lot of mechanics. So I'm going to do a very high-level overview about the different types of pistol actions on another episode down the road. I will go into specifics, but I'm mainly going to be talking about the actions when it comes to the shooting experience and what it means for you with different guns. So hammer-fired versus striker-fired. Let's talk about hammer-fired guns first. Hammer-fired guns come in 3 types for a pistol. You will have your double single action, your double action only, and your single action only. I'm not going to talk about really what those mean. There's long explanations about the mechanics. I'm going to talk about how these affect when you have the gun loaded in your hands. With the first one, the double single action allows a shooter to have a heavy first pull and then lighter subsequent shots. This would be your Beretta 92X. Without bringing the hammer back, I can still pull the trigger and get a shot out, but it's going to be a 10-ish pound trigger pull. If I have the hammer back, or if the hammer goes back like every shot after the first one with a hammer forward, it would be the regular, your typical 5-pound trigger pull. Double action only, this is what comes to mind for me is a SIG P250. It's discontinued, but that was the first one that I could think of. These guns mimic a revolver and have a very heavy trigger pull for every shot. A lot of people like this for safety, as it does take a good amount of force to pull the trigger. I would not rely on the heavy trigger pull as a safety mechanism, but some people will feel better with the heavy trigger pull. I think for me, these guns can be difficult to shoot because you have a very long, heavy trigger pull, meaning that you have a lot of time and a lot of force having to be put into your trigger finger, resulting in shots not staying on target for a lot of people. If you have one of these guns and you're good at them, more power to you, but they are a difficult one to learn on. So I wouldn't necessarily suggest it for a beginner, but I also would not rule it out. The last type is the single action only. This is your 1911 style gun. This is the locked and cocked type gun, meaning that you have to pull the hammer back to fire the pistol. These guns will have a safety on them for sure, because that is the way that most people will actually carry a 1911 or style, like the SIG 938, would be with the hammer back and then the safety on, since the safety is faster to disengage than it is to pull the hammer back. So striker fired guns, this is the other type. These are the modern guns being used and carried by many people today. This is your Glock 17, the SIG P320, etc. The military actually moved from the hammer-fired M9A4 to the P320 M18 M17. So they moved from a double single action to a striker-fired pistol. Shooters like these guns because while you don't get as good of a trigger, you do get consistent shots throughout the magazine. No heavy first shot. The pull weights come around 4.5 to 5.5 pounds. They are very easy to use, and the lack of hammer that can get caught on things and the users required to learn how to operate the hammer is kind of some of the reasons why people would choose striker over hammer fired. Many times striker fired pistols do not have a manual thumb safety like a hammer fired would, so that can also simplify the system, although a lot of striker fired guns do have them. There are many options to get a thumb safety, to not get a thumb safety. They're also mechanically more simple. For example, a 1911 single action only has a minimum of 52 parts, whereas the striker-fired Glock 17 only has 34 parts. Many beginner shooters choose to start out with a striker-fired option over a hammer-fired. There is nothing wrong with either, but it is up to the user to be able to effectively learn the platform that they have chosen. You may hear people talk about changing out their triggers and wanting something that has a lighter trigger pull than the normal stock triggers. That is great and all, but on guns that you might have to use in a stuff hit the fan or SHTF situation, I would personally stay away from changing the trigger. You do not, and I've heard this from instructors, you don't really want to be painted in a light of being some gun nut, trigger happy person that just wanted to try it out. And a big area would be especially lightening the trigger. I'm not saying that that would 100% happen, but just when talking to trainers and instructors, they encourage people to leave their carry pieces, especially, as stock as possible. I actually bought my last pistol around the way that the trigger felt. Right out of the box, I loved it, and I felt like I had to make 0 changes. That gun was the Walther PDP, and I got it right before the Washington State mag ban, so I guess I kind of just told people where I am, but yeah, Washington State. I got that one, and I love it. It's very crisp, it has a very short reset. If you like very crisp triggers like I do, check out the Walther PDP, the Shadow Systems lineup. Those ones are very well done. Sights. Let's talk about sights. Night sights are almost a must on your defense gun, especially your home defense gun. Trijicon and Ameriglow both make great products where you are able to see different colors with tritium illumination. Some have color highlights for daytime shooting. Some have painted rear sights or blacked out rear sights. It's really just dependent on what you think that you would like the most. The key is that in some way they glow at night. Bad things will happen at night, and not having to grab a flashlight and still being able to see your sights it's an important thing. I think it's something that's kind of overlooked by people when they start thinking about tactical situations, that the lights are just always on, and they aren't. So, optics. So, optics and sights are different. Sights are the little iron sights that are on every pistol slide. Optics are an optional thing that you can put on if your gun has the slide cut for it. Optics are also not a laser. I want to make that clear. This is a tool mounted on the top of the slide in an optic cut that puts a red dot onto the target and is only seen by a shooter. So it's not a red dot laser, it's like a red dot projected on a screen. It can be zeroed in for the specific shooter, ammo, etc., distance. This allows the shooter to be precise and accurate. Popular pistol red dots include the Trijicon RMR, Delta Point Pro, and the Holosun series, which is the more budget-friendly version. Trijicon RMR, Delta Point Pro are a little bit more on the expensive side, but they are highly, highly durable. Holosuns are a lot more budget-friendly, and it's actually kind of cool what they're doing with some of their technology, but I would say that in certain situations I have heard that they can be less durable. This is not saying that they're not going to fix that and change that, but just kind of where it stands right now, Trijicon and Delta Point, Leupold's Delta Point Pro are kind of at the top tier on your red dots. These not only help the shooter to be more accurate, but it helps faster target acquisition and faster subsequent shots. I think it's important to think about follow-up shots and handling recoil. The red dot will assist with that if trained properly on it. Pistols will have to have an optic cut in the slide, either cut by the manufacturer or sent out to cut the slide. Definitely, if you are a beginner, this is your first pistol, sending out the slide of your only gun is not ideal, so I would normally suggest going with one that's already red dot compatible. Recently, more and more companies have chosen to offer red dot ready options, as the modern shooting experience many times will include a red dot. When you mount your optic, you will have to follow manufacturer instructions to find the right optic plate, and for some guns, a ceiling plate would also to be able to properly install it. Once installed, the optic will have to be zeroed in to the specific shooter, the ammo, and the distance of choice. An instructor or RSO can help you with this and get it close to zero, but ultimately only the shooter can actually get it on target. So they can get it on the green, they can't get it in the cup. So I'm currently working on an episode about ammo. It's taking me a while, but just going through everything like grain weight, hollow point versus ball ammo, different jacket materials, everything like that. So I would highly recommend people, if that one is out, go listen to that one next. But basically, when you truly zero in an optic, it's zeroed into the specific grain weight of the bullet also, because obviously you have, when you're putting projectiles downrange, heavier stuff will act different at different distances than lighter stuff. So you may notice a difference. Weapon-mounted lights. Ever the debated topic. Oddly enough, sometimes it can be very controversial whether or not you should put a light on your gun. For home protection, I would say yes. For personal protection, I would say maybe. I would say if it were between me buying a red dot optic and a weapon-mounted light, I would do the optic any day. It'd help me be more accurate. The light tends to be a secondary tool, and if worse comes to worse, a small flashlight from Costco can do the job. Nothing from Costco will imitate the red dot. It is important to put on your home invasion at least one, because home invasions do happen at night. I mean, so flipping on lights would show where you are. The biggest argument that you see about not using them is that there's a lot of legality around it, like pointing the gun at someone with the light on and then giving your place away. But if you have to pop on the overhead lights, you just gave yourself away. So, you know, I personally like the two options, the Streamlight TLR HL1HL. Surefire X300U is also another good one, because both of those have 1,000 lumens, and if you've ever gotten 1,000 lumens in the eyes, it is extremely, extremely disorienting. So, if you choose to use a weapon-mounted light, I would read up on the legal implications of using it and learn how to use your regular handheld flashlight for investigation purposes, and the weapon-mounted light only in the situations where you have to point the gun at the person. You should not point the gun at the person for the purposes of using the light. That is to my understanding. Read the law, do your homework, and talk to a lawyer if you have to. It doesn't really hurt to have an extra tool in the toolbox if you know the legal implications of using it, you know how to properly deploy it, then feel comfortable with it. Alrighty, this is my favorite part, the scenarios. They imitate the people that come into the store that I'm at and that work with me. I find these very rewarding since I'm truly able to help people gain confidence and help them bring safety back into their lives. Many people shopping for their first gun have some type of fear motivating them, and being able to help them find something to protect themselves and their families and just gain that confidence is a really awesome experience to be a part of. I will also suggest 100% to anyone, take a class. If it's been a while since you have shot, take a class. If it's your first gun, take a class. They are helpful for any level. So, scenario number one, and I went through and named these people. I got a little creative with it, so, you know. Okay, so Rachel and Adam are shopping for a gun since they just had a break-in down the street in their neighborhood. They currently have an alarm system, but with the increase of crime, they want to take proactive measures to help them feel safer in their own home. Rachel and Adam have both shot handguns before, but can't remember what brands and don't have a lot of experience. They want something that they can both shoot, they're both right-handed, and preferably something that can sit in their safe beside their bed. Neither of them have any issue with trigger reach and are open to putting a weapon-mounted light on if instructed to use an implementation. Also to note here, they're willing to buy 2 guns. What's my response? My response would be at least one full-size firearm with some Trijicon or Ameriglo night sights on it at the least. Maybe even a red dot optic for good measure. If this gun is sitting by their bedside, they're expecting to have something happen at night, so night sights make a lot of sense. They might even consider a weapon-mounted light after taking a class on how to use it and using it strategically. If I could have them both getting a gun each, I would be shopping for 2 individual people, and so I'd probably just say, hey, let's walk Rachel through it, let's get her gun first, and then Adam, let's pick which one feels best in your hand. Talking about all these things, talking about how does this feel in your hand, talking about grip angle, talking about slide length, talking about what accessories that we would need to put on the gun, etc. So that would be kind of my response to someone coming in and saying, full-size firearm, home defense, safe at night, great. Full-size firearm, night sights on it, and then probably I would also want to set up with a safe too, unless they already have one. Scenario number 2, Casey likes to walk her dog Max at night around downtown and doesn't have a yard for him to go in, so at minimum has to walk usually after sunset. Since the rise in crime, she would like to feel more comfortable to have a gun with her that is primarily used as a personal protection gun. Home protection would be nice, but is not the reason why she's talking to me. My response, I would suggest a compact or subcompact gun with night sights, since the plan is to use it at least at night to take the dog out. And then probably then an optic also to help them get on target faster With smaller guns, you have a little bit more felt recoil, so the optic will help her get back on target faster. I would also look at a chest bag where you can do a sticky holster on the inside, so maybe drawing from that. Dry fire drills are a must with those ones, learning how to unzip, draw, and fire from the bag. I would definitely want to be setting her up with a class to talk about legal implications of self-defense outside of your home in whatever state that you're in, and talk about that. So because I'm setting someone up with a compact or subcompact gun, I'm already warning them that this gun is going to have a little bit more recoil and you'll have less shots. So learning things like recoil control, reloading, and clearing malfunctions is going to be imperative with these smaller guns. Scenario number 3. Joanne and Todd are a retired couple and concerned about the growing crime rate. Todd is left-handed and Joanne is right-handed. Both are familiar with handgun platforms but are not super experienced shooters. This will be their first gun for home protection. The other guns that they own are passed down collector's pieces and not used for those purposes. So what then is my response? In this one, I'm actually going to suggest a specific gun because it really fits what they're looking for, especially when you're working with someone who's right and left-handed. So it would actually be the HK VP9 and maybe even the tactical version, because that one it's the full-size version, optic ready, threaded barrel with night sights. The really nice thing about this is it has a paddle magazine release that allows the right and left-handed shooters to have the same experience, which I think is a really unique thing. It is kind of getting phased out on a lot of handguns now, so the VP9 is one of the last ones you can actually get it on, unfortunately. But thankfully, it's a really high-quality gun. H&K makes really good stuff. The VP9 is part of that. Even it has a high capacity, and you are able to suppress it down the road if you really wanted to do that, which is actually kind of nice for a home defense handgun because you don't have to holster it and you have like a safe. You can set yourself up with a situation that you won't go blowing your hearing out if you ever had to use it in your own home. So those are just 3 situations that I wanted to talk through, and those are the 3 kind of situations that I see come in a lot. The beginner people, this is my bedside handgun, the person that wants to conceal carry, and then I wanted to give an example where I had a right and left-handed person and like how that would go. So definitely, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. You can reach out to me through the Anchor app, actually. There's a way to submit questions and stuff like that, so I would love to answer them. And then now we're going to talk about gear. In this next section, this is an ad. The gear section is going to be an ad on every single time. I'm an Amazon affiliate, but I found some really awesome tactical and fitness gear that I want to share with everyone. All right, so the 2 things that I want to talk about today for the ad from Amazon is the Case Club store. Case Club has all kinds of hard-sided cases for any configuration. It's really awesome because you don't have to go cutting out foam. So I'm going to leave a link for that. So visit the store. They have so many different options. I think it's really awesome. We've had people that come in the store with them, love them. I have yet to get one. I usually use a rifle bag that I'm also going to be featuring in another episode, but I'm just kind of slowly going through different equipment that I've gotten. So go check that out. That one's in the ad, or that one's in the description. And the other product that I want to talk about is the Now Sports Nutrition Whey Protein Isolate. This stuff, I know it's weird. Unflavored whey, at first I was like, okay, that's disgusting, and it's not great, but I mean, okay, so if you look at the nutrition facts that I have pulled up on my screen right now, 1 scoop is 28 grams, it's half a gram of fat, less than 1 carbohydrate, and then 25 grams of protein. So for every scoop, the fact that you're getting that good of a ratio and that high of a ratio of protein to actual just material in general is pretty good. The two ingredients in it is whey protein isolate and then sunflower lecithin. So I would definitely check this out. It also has branched essential and non-essential amino acids in it. So they give you an idea of what's in there along with branched chain amino acids. So I think per ounce it's 71 cents an ounce. I have it on Amazon right now. I think it might be a little bit more if you don't subscribe and save on it, but at least try it. The thing about it and the trick that I've found is that if you put it in a water bottle or if you put it in a blender bottle where you don't have your nose in it, like a wide mouth, I used to drink my protein in wide mouth jars, and this stuff was just a little bit weird to have like your face in for some reason. The smell of it was the most off-putting part. And so when I actually started putting them in the blender bottle and then just drinking them as fast as I could, it worked a lot better because the consistency of the unflavored whey is actually more like water than other protein powders that can almost get kind of like thick and heavy feeling. So I have another recommendation for a flavored protein powder, but for an unflavored protein powder, it has to be like, I just love the Now Sports Nutrition. I have it delivered every month. It's a staple in my pantry now. And I also put a link in it in the description so that you can pick some up too. I want to thank everyone for listening. Next week will be a fitness episode.